Hello, if you're new here, my name is Shelly, and if you are obsessed with true crime, conspiracy theories, and serial killers, and also makeup, then you've come to the right place. Consider yourself at home, darling. Today I'm going to be talking about a woman named Delphine LaLaurie, and this story is really intense. It is really crazy. If you are sensitive to torture or anything along those lines, and if you're sensitive to talking about slaves, and if you are easily triggered by any of that, and also I wouldn't let any kids, if you have any children around, you might not want to watch this particular video. This one is intense. If you've been watching my videos, then you would know that I always have a scary scale pop up at the bottom over here just to kind of give you on a scale from 1 to 5 stars how scary the story is. None of them have been way too intense, but this one I'm going to give 5 stars today. It's just really intense. And yeah, so if you're super sensitive to torture and that kind of thing, especially with slaves, then definitely opt out of this video and wait for next week. I just wanted to say that at the beginning. Lady named Delphine LaLaurie, she was actually featured in a season of American Horror Story. So if you watch that show, then you've already learned a little bit about what she did and a little bit about who she was. But first of all, I do want to warn you that this is an older story. She was born in 1787. So this is a pretty old story, and the older the story, the more rocky the facts are. That's just how it is. Back then, things were spread more by word of mouth and less by like getting facts and evidence. A lot of people back then would say that they were associated with a popular story just to get attention or to get people to listen to them. And also people who were writing about these certain bigger stories or more popular stories, they also embellished a little bit. They made things sound a lot worse than what actually happened. So we're going to be talking about some of the things that people said happened that didn't actually happen or might have happened, but we just can't be 100% sure of, because it could have been someone who wanted their story to be more interesting, so they made things seem worse than they actually were. So I'm just going to make you aware that since this is a really old story, that's going to happen. I want to go back to give you a little bit of her history, like where her family's from, like her marriages and stuff like that. Stephanie Harlow, she did a super in-depth video about her backstory and her family and how they came from Ireland, what they did in Ireland, and then when they came over here and why they moved over to New Orleans and that kind of thing. I don't want to go into too much detail, because if I did, this would be like a 2-hour long video and no one wants to sit through that. But Stephanie Harlow did a very good, well thought out video. She's so good at what she does, and I will definitely link her channel down below. You can go find it. I will link the video down below as well. I do want to go into a little bit of her backstory, but not too much, because that's not what I want this video to be completely about. I don't know if that makes sense. So this woman was actually born with the name Marie Delphine McCarty, and she was born March 19th of 1787. And she was born in New Orleans, or at the time, New Orleans was just starting, so it wasn't a part of America yet, but it was a big French city. And this is just a little bit of a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, she was mean to her slaves. This is such an embarrassing time in American history. So her family kind of had a history of owning slaves. Her grandfather and her father also may have gotten slaves pregnant and like that kind of thing. It was a time when that was frowned upon, but if that did happen, no one really did anything about it. Back then, the rules were basically, if you did things to your slaves, if you were caught beating your slaves or anything like that, you could be fined. So her family was a very rich and wealthy family. They had military officers in their family. They had planters and they had merchants. The men and the women in her family owned their own plantations. So this family had a lot of wealthy people in it, basically. And also, this wasn't really a great time for the Irish people. So honestly, props to them for being wealthy, but they also owned slaves, so not too many props to them. So her family fled to France to escape the British that were in Ireland. And then from France, that's how they heard about New Orleans, was from an officer of the French Navy, and they just kind of followed him over to New Orleans. You know, back then, I'm sure a lot of people in France were talking about New Orleans because, you know, that was whenever the French had gone over to America, and that was their kind of claimed spot, I guess. So in 1769, New Orleans was switching over from being in France's control to being in Spain's control, and the McCarthy clan supported it. This is another thing that helped them kind of rise up in society because they supported the Spanish, who were trying to take control of New Orleans now. When Delphine, in the year 1800, she was born in 1787, and in 1800, she got married to a Spaniard man, and he was like second in command to the Spaniard governor that was over New Orleans at this point. And Delphine was only 13 or 14 years old at this time, and this Spaniard man was not 13 to 14. Let's just say that. Nowadays, this would be a huge no-no, and to any reasonable person, this would be a huge no-no. But she actually got married to this man who was more than 10 years older than her, let's say that. You have to remember that this is a different time, and back then, at the age of 12, women were considered okay for marriage, which is horrible and disgusting. That should never happen, but unfortunately, it did used to happen all the time. It still happens in some places, but you know what I'm saying. Back then, the people from Spain, if they lived in New Orleans or America or anywhere else, they had to send a letter back to the queen and say, hey, I met this girl, I think she's real cute, and I want to marry her. She is not from Spain, she's Irish, and she's in New Orleans, and like I said, she's real cute. I would love to marry her. So he had to get permission from the queen to marry someone, but this man was impatient. And back then, when you sent a letter that far away, you wrote the letter, it boarded a ship, the ship had to go all the way to a mail person, and then the mail person would pick it up from the ship. Like, it was a whole long process. It took months to send a letter to anyone. I cannot get this open. I've been trying to get it open. Oh, got it. So anyways, he's asking for permission to marry Delphine, and he hasn't heard back. So this guy is like, it's okay, I'm sure that they'll say yes. I am not waiting for the letter to come back because I know that they'll say yes. Not a big deal. Let's just go ahead and do it. So he marries Delphine. So then him and Delphine are having a wonderful time. They find out that she is pregnant, and then they get a letter from the queen in Spain, and she says, listen, I know that you married her before I could tell you yes or no. You're in some big trouble. You better come over here, come back to Spain, you know? I feel like that was like the queen's version of like, home now, mister. You're in big trouble. I'm gonna send you to your room. You're grounded. No cell phone. You know, he was in trouble. So he decides that he has to go back to Spain, but Delphine heads back with him. So then they go to Spain, and so he gets on a ship, but Delphine wasn't on the boat with him, and his boat actually hit a sandbar and capsized, and sadly he died. And then shortly after, she gave birth to a daughter, and she decides that she wants to head home to rejoin her family, and so that's kind of the end of that era in her life. Now in 1808, she finds another man to call husband, and again, this man is a little older than she was. She kind of has a knack for going with older men, and this man was a lawyer and a banker all in one. So just think of like the most boring person on the planet. I'm just kidding. If you're a banker or a lawyer, I'm sorry. She ends up having 3 more daughters and a son. This man ends up dying sadly from mysterious reasons. About 7 years later, on June 25th of 1825, Delphine then becomes Delphine LaLaurie because she marries Dr. Leonard LaLaurie. He actually went by Louis though. Let me just tell you a little bit about this man. So this man came to New Orleans, and he wasn't an official doctor yet, but whenever he boarded the ship, he told them that he was a doctor because he had been training to be a doctor, so he was almost one, so it wasn't a huge deal for him to do that. And whenever he was in New Orleans, he actually had a little clinic. He wasn't like rich or anything, but he was seeing patients, and his specialty was treating people with a hump on their back. I don't know what the correct term is. I'll have it up here, but it was the people that used to be called hunchbacks or people with a hunch, that kind of thing. He specialized in treating those. And Delphine actually met him because she took one of her daughters to see him, and they flirted up a storm, even though at this point Delphine was a little bit older. She had a few kids at this point. She had become a widow twice. She was older than this man. So back then, the woman being older in a relationship was like completely unheard of. So when they got together, it was like the talk of the town. So they started flirting up a storm, and Louis actually sent a letter to his father, and he was like, hey, you know, I'm actually doing great in New Orleans. There's this older woman that I met, and she's been helping me out. She's been showing me around and all this stuff. And his father did not think that it was a romantic relationship. He was just like, oh, my son's found himself just a nice lady friend. Just this older gal is showing him around. But he had no idea that it was romantic, and that Delphine had every intention of marrying this man. And his father actually sent a bunch of linens and fabrics to Delphine, just as a thank you for accepting his son and as a thank you for showing him around, because he is the new guy in town, and for kind of helping out his son in like a new place. This man wasn't making very much money, so whenever he married Delphine, he had gained 2 different plantations. They were indigo plantations, in case you were wondering. And so she had a lot of money. She was worth about like 2.5 million in today's numbers. Back then, she was very, very rich, and you know, Louis didn't really have a lot of money. Whenever her second husband died, she actually discovered that he had been really deep into debt, and she had to take care of all of that. She had to sell a bunch of his stuff to pay it back. So at one point, she was worth about 2.5 million in today's numbers. And then by the time she marries Louis, she's worth about 1 million, which is still doing pretty good. And let me just tell you that back then, women were not in control of much, which is pretty obvious. Like, we all know that women couldn't vote. They didn't have really any say. It was very rare for a woman to have a plantation at all. So women weren't really the owners of anything, and they didn't have a say with anything. They had really no control over anything. Because of that, women were known to be a lot more harsh to slaves than men were. Now, don't get me wrong, like, men were terrible to slaves too, but it's said that the women, since the only thing that they had control over pretty much were their slaves, they really took advantage of that and would go like way too far. Since that was like the only area that they had a lot of control in, they would just take it too far. They would beat their slaves. They would be a lot worse. And there had been a couple of instances where Delphine, because along with her plantations, a plantation back then had plenty of slaves. So this whole time, this woman has been in charge of slaves and stuff. I feel like I'm saying that word a lot. So there were a couple of times where people questioned her treatment of her slaves. Like, the town gossip about her was that she wasn't very nice to her slaves. But because of that, in public, she would be creepily overly nice to her slaves, and then people would question the gossip and be like, what are you talking about? This woman obviously is nice to her slaves, nicer to her slaves than most people are. Like, just leave her alone. There was actually one point in time where it got so bad that a lawyer was sent to her house to remind her of the rules. If you treat your slaves a certain way, like if you beat your slaves or do this and that, you will be fined. And he was just kind of sent there to remind her, hey, they're your slaves. They're supposed to work for you for free, but you're not supposed to like beat them or abuse them in any way, which kind of blows my mind because most of the time back then people didn't care what you did to your slaves. So you know it's bad if a lawyer shows up to your house and is like, hey, calm down maybe. And another time she actually got 9 slaves taken away from her, but there was really no use to that because her family bought them back and then just gave them back to her. So there really wasn't like a point to that because they just went right back into her care. But I just want to let you know that the rumors about how she treated her slaves were so bad that she got in trouble a few times. And one day, to actually kind of show people that were gossiping about her that she was nice to her slaves, one day she let a few of them free. And it wasn't to be nice, it was just to kind of be like, see, I'm not abusing them and I'm not torturing them like everyone says I am. I'm nice. I even set these ones free. And there was one who had helped her raise her children. She set her free, which is great. Yes, set all of your slaves free, but she wasn't doing it to be nice or as a slavery is wrong and I'm sorry you're in this situation, be free. And it wasn't a thank you for your service for all of these years. It was just because people had speculations about her and she had gotten in trouble a couple times. Now, as to why she was so cruel to slaves, no one really knows why. Like I told you at the beginning, there's like some parts of the story that are just made up completely. And part of the parts that were made up completely were that her parents were brutally beaten to death by slaves that were revolting. But that wasn't true. There's like record that shows her parents both died of natural causes at like separate points in time. They didn't even die at the same time. So that's not true. There was another story going around that said her uncle by marriage had been murdered by slaves like before she was even born. So her family always hated them. I don't really blame people for making up stories as to why, because when someone does something so bad, like we all want to know why. We all want to know what their reason was, like what made you do this? What made you so twisted in your head to treat people this way? And so yeah, there were a lot of stories and speculations going around that her family just had a lot of bitterness towards slaves, but we don't really have any confirmation of any of those, and most of them are proven wrong by record. Let's go back to Delphine and her husband Louis. Now in 1831 is when she builds her mansion, and this mansion was in her control. She was over this mansion and what happens to this mansion, and this is the famous LaLaurie mansion of where everything went down. And the address is 1140 Royal Street, New Orleans. Delphine lives here with her 2 daughters and Louis, of course, but she is kind of the boss of the house, which in my opinion, that's how she likes it. So her address was a very popular address. She and Louis were well known for their parties. A lot of people attended these parties, but it was also said that her and Louis were having problems, and a lot of people really thought that their marriage would not last because, again, in the town gossip, they would be arguing a lot and they would never get along. But then at the parties, they would act like they were best friends and they would act like husband and wife and like they loved each other. But then, you know, as soon as everyone left, it would go back to bickering. They didn't have a perfect marriage. In case you were wondering, that's not really that relevant. Let me backtrack a little bit. I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry, there's just a lot to this story and I keep getting ahead of myself. After the mansion was built, there were some stories of witnesses seeing some slave mistreatment happening. Now she lives in town. She doesn't live out on a plantation anymore. She lives in town in a mansion. So everything she does to her slaves, like, the neighbors can hear, people walking by can hear. And there was one story of a slave girl named Leah who was about 12 years old. And the story goes that Leah was brushing Delphine's hair, and whenever she was brushing her hair, she hit a tangle or hit a snag in her hair and pulled her hair. And Delphine just went insane on her and she started whipping her, and the little girl, because she's a little girl, runs away, obviously. She actually ran up to the roof and she ran herself off the roof because she wanted to escape whatever punishment Delphine was going to give her. And there was also a story of a man slave who ran and jumped out of one of the windows of the mansion, and that window that he jumped out of was concreted in, like it was sealed in. You can see all of the windows, and that one window has cement over it. And that's from the male slave who jumped out, and he jumped out because he had gotten in trouble and he did not want to endure whatever punishment she did to the slaves. So everyone that had to work there, everyone that had to be a slave in that house, knew that she was capable of something so terrible that they would literally commit suicide to get away from her. So remember how I said that Delphine and Louis liked to throw parties? Well, on April 10th of 1834, at one of their famous parties, the house catches on fire. So during this fire, the guests at the party start helping them like move belongings out of their house. You know, they just want to get out as much as they can before the fire like completely takes over the entire house. And so the guests at the party are actually trying to like help them salvage as much as they can. And these people were actually trying to get as many slaves out as they could, because she had like 30 something slaves all in this house, and the guests knew that she had a lot of slaves, so they were trying to find all of them and get all of them out of the house. And there was like an entire floor of the mansion that these people knew had slaves in it, because I told you the gossip was that she did not treat her slaves very well. And on the certain floor, everyone knew that she kind of locked up the slaves that were being bad or not following her rules or whatever. So there was like a police chief there at this point, and he was like, dude, you gotta get those slaves out of that room. Like, we need to get them out as fast as possible. Like, you need to unlock this door so we can save your slaves and get them out of here. And Louis basically just tells him to mind his business. At this point, the people were so desperate to get the slaves out that they broke down the door to rescue the slaves. Whenever they broke the door down, they found a very like nightmare fuel site. This is where things get even more crazy. Now, there is a story that the person who started the fire worked as a cook and she was chained to the oven, and whenever police chief or fire marshals or whoever found the cook, she said that she started it because she didn't want to go to the top floor. She did not want to be tortured on the top floor. So of course everyone was just curious as to what was happening on the top floor or behind this locked door. So whenever they knocked it down, this is what they found. And this part is gonna be the worst part of the entire video. Don't say I didn't warn you. So they walk into this room and they found a man hanging by his neck, and his limbs were stretched so far that they had begun to tear off. They found a woman whose bones had been broken and she had been shoved into this tiny little box. They found people with their eyes and their mouth sewn shut, and there was also a rumor that they had shoved feces in their mouths before sewing them shut. And there was a lot of people who had rearranged body parts or facial features. There was a lot of genital mutilation on some people. They had coated one person in honey and put black ants all over them. And there was a woman who was called the Spider Woman because her body parts had been taken off and rearranged to make her look like a human spider. There were holes drilled into some people's heads, and some of them had spoons sticking out where they had like tortured them. There was a man pinned to the wall and his face had been like dissected. I told you this was intense, you guys. The people at the party saw all of this before the police saw it. These people just started freaking out. They were so enraged at the LaLaurys that they literally just started like destroying everything. There were people that were in that room were still alive and they were begging to die. One man had his skin cut open and then they had put worms in him and then sewed him back up. Like, it was so messed up. I would have a heart attack and die. I have no idea what I would do if I saw any of this. Part of me feels like the police, whenever they found out what happened, they just kind of let the people ransack the home and destroy the home because of how bad it was and how mad people were. And by the time the police cleared it out or got in there, there was nothing left of the house except the walls. Like, everyone had graffitied everywhere, which I don't know who brings supplies to graffiti at a party, but this is not a time for jokes. This is too serious. So the police officers see all of this and they grab whatever slaves are alive and they take them down to the station to protect them. But they say that it was for their protection, but I don't really know what the intentions were. I don't know if the intentions were 100% great because people would go to the station and view the slaves like it was a freaking museum or something. So yeah, I don't know if the police officers took them there for safety or if they took them there so that people could come and see the LaLaurie slaves and look at them and make a show of them. It was horrible. These slaves, like what they went through and how they died, it's just, oh, it makes me feel so sick to my stomach. When the police did these viewings, about 4,000 people showed up, which is insane. And some stories say that there was only a handful of victims. Other stories say that there were over 100. I am not sure what I think. I do think that there were a lot, but I mean, I don't know. I just know that this woman was disgusting. Delphine LaLaurie and Louis LaLaurie actually escaped and got away. They faced no punishment for what they did, and a lot of places say that it was just her that did this stuff, but I don't really buy that. I think it was both of them, because he was a doctor, and doctors back then were very curious and they would like experiment on people because there was just not a ton of medical knowledge back then. So him being a doctor, I very much believe that he was involved. And the fact that this didn't really start until she married him. I do believe that she was a sick person, but I don't believe that she's the only guilty one here, you know? So if you're wondering how in the world she got away, let me tell you. Now, the man who drove her coach, well, I mean, she was kind of freaking out about what to do, and he told her apparently she went on a daily ride around town in her carriage or whatever it was, and he told her to just get in the carriage as she would on any normal day and act like she was going on her normal ride around the town. And so that is exactly what she did. At first, people really didn't think anything of it, which I don't know how they wouldn't, because her house had just burned down. But I mean, I guess it was like the people that weren't at the party that she was trying to act normal in front of so they wouldn't do anything. I don't know. I'm not sure. This is just how the story goes. So he takes her to the river, and she gets on a ship, takes the river over to Alabama, and by this time she is already like in Alabama or on her way to Alabama when everyone in the town kind of catches on, and they end up murdering her carriage driver, which is sad because he was another slave. And I just, what's the point? Like, why would you murder him? Like, I get that you're super angry. I would be too. But, like, why? And then I think they also murdered the horse too. And it's like, the horse? Why? The horse didn't do anything. He was smacked on the butt and told to run. I would say that people need to calm down. Like, no, they needed to keep the energy just, like, directed towards something more helpful. I don't know. My point is, Delphine escaped. They made their way off to France. They went to Paris. That is where it is believed that she spent the rest of her days, and she actually had to lay low in Paris, but she did not want to lay low. She was used to her life of luxury because she was super rich, and whenever she was in Paris she didn't want to lay low. And there was one man who was on the ship with her when she was going back to Paris, and he didn't realize it was her at first, but later he realized that it had been her on the same boat with him, because this story was huge in New Orleans, obviously, the first day, and then it did not take long for the story to be huge in America, and then it didn't take long for the story to be huge pretty much everywhere. And so everyone knew about her, and then that's whenever one guy was like, oh my god, that was definitely her on the boat. So then he started telling people that she was on the boat with him to Paris. So, you know, people were just like speculating where she went because no one really knew for sure. But she wasn't like hiding who she was. She was like, I'm Delphine LaLaurie. What about it? But she still never really answered for her crimes or anything, which is frustrating. There are a lot of people who think that she returned to New Orleans eventually, because in the St. Louis Cemetery in New Orleans there is a gravestone that says Madame LaLaurie, born Delphine McCarthy, died in Paris December 7th of 1842. But in Paris there's a gravestone with her name and everything that says that she died in 1849. So it's kind of unclear as to why there are two different gravestones. tombstones and why there are 2 different dates. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of conspiracy around it. It's a lot. So after the mansion burned down, there was a huge reconstruction of the property, and in 1888 the mansion was like not recognizable as the LaLaurie mansion. During the reconstruction, they found lots and lots of bones underground and in the walls. And this is really interesting about the property, but the property has been owned by so many different people over the years. At one point, it was like an all-boys school. Then it became a conservatory for music. And at one point, it was a house for young delinquents. It was a furniture store. It was an apartment building. It was also owned by a tobacco merchant. And the reason why it was owned by like so many different people and it was so many different things was because no business really ever succeeded there. And personally, I think it's just super cursed or super haunted or something. Anyone that's been there has gone into debt or just like something crazy has happened, and it's just not a good place to be or go. Now this is really crazy and you might not believe me, but in 2007, Nicolas Cage bought the property for $3.5 million. I know, right? Isn't that just the most random thing you've ever heard? But it was kind of sketchy because the mortgage documents didn't even have his name on it, even though he was the one who purchased it. Okay, so this side of my mouth is messed up. Let's just ignore it. November 13th of 2009, the place was actually foreclosed and then put on auction. And as of right now, it is privately owned. They don't do any tours. They don't make any money off of it. I'm not sure what they're doing with it. They might be renovating it. I mean, I'm not sure. It's privately owned and they're very private of what they're doing. But here are some reasons why people believe that it is haunted. There was a woman named Annie who lived in the house when she was young, and her dad said that he saw a figure in a top hat, and they heard their pots and pans move around. There have also been reports of seeing a young girl just standing on the roof. And Annie and her family had moved away from the place, and she went back to the mansion because several things had happened to her there. She had lots of paranormal experiences, but whenever she went back to the mansion to kind of like make peace, and she was knocked down by something. At one point there was a woman named Lisa and her mother who were the caretakers of this house, and they had reports of the kitchen door opening and closing. And there were also some stories of like back in the old days, there was like these 2 brothers who were little boys, and one of them would be out on the street and they would ask people, hey, do you want to see a ghost or something? And then they would lead the people over to the mansion, and his sibling would be up in the window pretending to be a ghost. And then, you know, they just did it as like an entertainment, and then they would ask the people for a nickel, like for making them laugh or something. And so there were a lot of like different instances like that where people would use it to kind of make money off of it. And there's also a book that is super detailed about this particular story. It is called Madame LaLaurie, Mistress of the Haunted House, and it's by Carolyn Morrow Long. I did not order it. I have not read it, but Stephanie Harlow in her video mentions it, and she says that it's a really great book if you are interested in reading more about this story. One of the people that owned it, it was an Italian immigrant who had a bar or saloon, and he put up a sign that says no ghosts, and he charged people to come in and see for themselves. Whenever it was a conservatory for music, the music teacher tried to have a concert, but the concert like failed miserably. It's just crazy how many different people own this house, how many different things happened in this house, and none of them went well. It's just anything that happens in this mansion or house is just whoever owns it ends up with bad luck or bad things happen, and I completely get it. I just feel like whenever so much tragedy and so much sadness happens in one place, that's gonna happen. So that is all that I have for you regarding Delphine LaLaurie. This is one twisted gal. Everything she did was so horrifying and horrible. I feel so bad for the slaves that were in her custody, and any slave really, but especially the ones that were in her custody, because I mean, she was just awful. You know, she was messed up. Awful. I can't even imagine. It's kind of weird going from talking about that to saying my outro, but I hope that you understand. It is a video. I just want to be as respectful as possible to those people that suffered so bad. I hope that they're all in a better place. If you enjoy this type of content, I have other videos that aren't as heavy. If you enjoy true crime, serial killers, conspiracy videos, and you also like makeup, then stick around and become part of the family. Give this video a thumbs up because I like it when you like it, and also hit the button down below and subscribe to see what we're going to be talking about next week. My dog is being dramatic in the background. I apologize if you can hear that. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias. It is Shelly G MUA on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to just see my makeup without having to hear me talk. And I get it. Anyways, that is all that I have for you today. Be safe out there. Be nice to people. I'll see you guys next week. God bless. Love you. Bye.